Ladies coming to the scene with the knowledge that's it. Spitting nothing but the facts and it's about to be lit. See, yeah. Yeah. Let me hear you say, yeah. Yeah. Sit back and take a listen, cause they're teaching the course. They share a passion and a talent, a human resource. See, yeah. Yeah. Let me hear you say, yeah. Yeah. Empowering ladies with a voice, and it's about to be fire. Did I forget to mention that they're both from GI? Let me hear you say yeah. Yeah. Let me hear you say yeah. Yeah.
Woo. Let me hear you say yeah.
I'm gonna say that again.
Hey, I am so forever an Elena Renee fan. Thank you, girl, for our theme song, our intro. Let me hear you say yeah.
Yeah, yes. She did
I'm
that.
so
She
excited.
did that.
Welcome back.
Girl, hey cousin.
Hey cousin.
What is up? Like you look, you got this glow about you.
You what?
You just looking all like joyful and.
You sure it's not the Bobby Brown highlighter?
Oh, okay. It's probably and that good moisturizer, girl. You got that good
that's that Fenty.
Yes. That Fenty. Well, what is up? We are back. We're back.
It feels like so long, but I feel like it was a much needed break.
Yes.
Much needed break.
Yes.
Just going and grinding the everyday hustle and bustle of, motherhood and organizations and serving in the community and balancing businesses. So I'm glad to be back, but I'm glad that we took a rest too.
Yeah. We got so much to catch up on. We will definitely do that. And we got a hot topic for tonight that we're going to delve in, have some conversation about.
Yeah, the people have asked. Like, this is something they want us to talk about. So we're going to give it to you.
Listen, I'll just say this before we, kind of go into our disclaimer. I have hired recently several young professionals, and I have just been so just honored because these young professionals are like, I listen to you. Like, they look me up on LinkedIn and they're like, I listen to your podcast.
Yes, I love it.
We got to give the people what they want, baby. We got to get the people
what
they want. Yeah,
I know.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
that's exciting. I feel like we listen to like the what our audience says and look at our metrics and our reach and stuff. But for those who don't know, we did have an assistant last year. She was really dope. She was like one of the dopest people. For those of you who don't know, Nikki, her name is Namia, and our assistant name was Mia. So I had the two Mias, right?
The Mias.
And Mia is an amazing artist, and she's working on her album. God bless her. She was like juggling us and her work. And we actually had to make the decision for her. We were like, we support you, girl. Go out and chase your dreams. So if you're
she has a beautiful voice. Beautiful.
Man, that young lady is a talent. We're like, what you doing here with us? So
that's a dope vibe. Nothing but blessings for Mia if she is out there listening, checking in.
Yeah, we love you, Mia. We wish you well. We expect nothing but great things.
Yes, and give us seats to your concert, boo.
Right. I want to like be in the back. Like, I want the box seats and VIP. Can we get a little hookup? Like
a hookup.
We don't want to be in the nosebleeds or at the meet and greet.
Listen, yes. So, Missy, I feel like this is going to be a lot of folks' first time checking into us because we've been on hiatus. This is technically our season 2 premiere. So I feel like we have some people that have joined Nikki and Missie, Her Voice, our Facebook page. And I feel like they want to know a little bit about us individually. And so before we do that, I just want to put out this disclaimer because we always put out this disclaimer for every episode.
You let them know. You let them know while I drink.
We gotta let y'all know because somebody will have something to say, and we gotta let y'all know that. Listen, we do not offer legal advice. Okay, We are just two Black girls from the G. And so we want y'all to know that the thoughts, the views, the opinions that are expressed here on Her Voice featuring Nikki and Missy, they're solely our own. Okay, that is what we think. We do not represent any entity that we are currently affiliated with, any entity that we have been previously affiliated with, or any entity whatsoever that we will be affiliated in the future. So this is us. This is our own express views. This is Nikki and Missy in the flesh, in the raw, and so it's us.
Our words. Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody else.
Yeah. So listen, give the people what they want. Tell us a little bit about yourself, child. What's been going on for the people that are just checking in? And if you are checking in with us, we want you to engage in conversation with us. Let us know that you're here. Put some hey cousins in the chat, something to let us know that you're here. We want you to check in with us on tonight, and share a little bit about us, Missy.
Well, I mean, I'm an HR practitioner by trade, certified HR practitioner. I currently work in the performance management space, but I've done all things from labor relations. I've been a department of one. I've served as a director. I've done consulting. I do some consulting on the side of my own through career coaching for Black women, sort of helping us find our way and lead the path, because sometimes we just don't know when we enter the workspace. What are some of those, hidden, unwritten rules that maybe we didn't share, it wasn't passed on to us. So, there is sort of a rule book, right, that sometimes we don't know about. And I provide some insight to that, as well as like salary negotiation and things like that. I'm a mommy. I have 2 boys and a daughter soon, because I'm recently engaged. So my kids are 14, rising freshmen, and 22. That's my new daughter, my bonus daughter, and 23 is my oldest son. So that's our blended family. I live out here in the DC area, specifically Fairfax, Virginia, originally from Gary, Indiana, or the G, as some people like to say. Nikki and I are cousins. You wouldn't know we're not first cousins, right? Our grandmothers are sisters. So we're technically second cousins, but guess what? We couldn't be any closer. So, it is what it is. This is like one of my favorite people in the world. My matron of honor for my wedding coming up soon.
Yes. Right.
Oh my gosh, so much. I'm a Jack and Jill mom. I love my Jack and Jillers. Long live Jack and Jill. We're up on a big year as Cameron enters into his senior year. So it's a lot of work to be done. Excited about the new year. Putting a lot of stuff on the back burner so that I'm ready for that work. And I'm a member of Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So that's a lot about me. Tell them about you, girl.
Girl, you the bomb. Girl, you are the bomb. Okay. So I am Missy's cousin. And if you don't know by now, it's Her Voice featuring Nikki and Missy. And as Missy has stated, we grew up very close. We grew up more like sisters than cousins. Our moms, our grandmothers were sisters, obviously, and our moms ensured that the two of us grew up very close when we were young. So we've been around each other for all of our lives, ever since I can remember. I don't ever remember any major era of my life where Missy was not involved, a part somehow, some way. And so we are both HR practitioners for the organization that I work for. I am the director of HR. I lead all things HR for my organization. I do a little bit of everything. I've been involved in compensation, and I've been involved in hiring and in recruiting, and I do a lot of, just grooming of young professionals, I guess I should say, younger leaders, professionals who are more junior in their career, and just, leading my organization from a HR strategy perspective. And so I have been in HR most of my career, in a leadership or an HR role for much or most of my career. And so we started this podcast over a year ago, because we wanted to, we got some stuff to say. We got some ish to say.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're here tonight.
Yes.
We want to share. I'm too a wife. I have bonus children. I don't have biological children, but I have 3 bonus children with my husband. And so, we just living a good life. I'm in the Northwest Indiana, Chicago land area. And so, we just, living our best lives, trying to make a mark.
On that too. Huh? I'm hating on that too, because y'all got the best food, man. I saw somebody post yesterday some food from Kenny's Ribs. I was like, dang, Smooth, if you out there, I want some ribs, I want some fish, some chicken wings, and some mild sauce. Cause
I still need to send you some of that Harold's chicken sauce or something.
Girl, and it was on a piece of white bread. I was like, oh, that's good. That's so good.
Right. With the white bread and the fries and one little bowl. Yeah.
Right.
That's yeah. That's Chicagoland eating right there. Yes.
Good food. Good food.
Absolutely. So we've caught up. People know who we are. This is season 2. Let's get into the topic for tonight.
Yeah, like Michael said, keep your hand on my pocket.
Yeah. Yes.
Keep your hands off my honey pot.
Keep your hands off our honey pot. What does honey pot mean? Pull it delicately, because we ain't HR. We got to say it nice.
It's your lady parts.
It's your lady parts.
It's your lady parts.
Yeah, your lady parts. It's your vajayjay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kitty cat.
Mm-hmm.
And we want folks to keep their hands off of it on tonight. So we're going to talk about keeping your hands off of our honey pot and the whole Roe V versus Wade. Like, this has been all over the media. There's been a lot of discussion. And if you don't know, we talk about topics that are relevant to, not just, everyday life, but topics in particular that are relevant to the workplace, because we are HR practitioners by education and by trade. So, we got some stuff to say. Yeah.
And so, like, literally this friend of mine who happens to be Caucasian, slid in my DM, and she was like, Melissa, help me understand, how do Black women feel about Roe versus Wade? And, I'm always like the diplomatic person. I'm like, I can't speak for all Black women, but I can tell you for myself, right?
Right.
Because I don't speak
jargon on this.
Like, I don't speak for everybody, but of course I have an opinion on it, right?
Right.
And I called Nikki. I was like, hey, I feel like this is like something we should talk about. And Nikki was like, yeah, well, let's season 1. Let's talk about it. So, that's kind of how we came to this part, but to this point. But we are we're listening to what you want us to talk about, and this clearly is something that the whole world is talking about. So I think it's important to lay the foundation with some history, right, about the 14th Amendment and what that is and what it impacts, right? Because the 14th Amendment impacts Roe versus Wade, but it impacts some other areas too, right?
Right.
So just real quick, when we talk about the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution, we're talking about language that basically grants citizenship to all people born under a naturalized U.S. citizenship, including formerly slave people. You got to throw that in there.
Right.
But it impacts our right to privacy and personal liberties that they're not mentioned anywhere else in the Constitution. So just like real quick, there's a top 5 lawsuits that were impacted by the 14th Amendment. Number 1, and I'm gonna go in chronological order, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 is Griswold versus Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
That was in June 1965. And
Mm-hmm.
basically that was a lawsuit where Planned Parenthood won the right to provide you with contraceptive. All right. Number 2, we got Loving versus Virginia in June of 1967.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lawsuit that affords us the right to have interracial marriage.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So number 3 is Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade, that's what we're here to talk about today. That was in January 1972. And it's the woman's right to make a decision to terminate her pregnancy. And we're going to talk about all the implications of that. All right. Number 4 is Lawrence versus Texas. That was in June of 2003. Now, interestingly enough, this is a case where 2 men were accused of violating sodomy laws, and the police just like walked up in their crib and arrested these 2 men. They happened to be partners engaging in intercourse. And in that case, they won, and it affords us now the right to personal and private life privacy. So basically, it's the respect of your privacy. They can't just walk in your crib. There you go.
Right.
And then
so those laws are important because they set precedents, right? Like
exactly.
They give us an example as we dig into Roe v. versus Wade. They give us an example or past cases by which someone like the justices decided, is this precedence or is there no precedence in this case? Do we have another examples of cases by which we can look at it as an example? And
because that's how attorneys win cases, right?
Yeah.
Based on precedent, right? So when this is overturned, it impacts these other laws, right? So that's your privacy. That is, the last one was the right to same-sex marriage. But all of these, the cases that were won based off the 14th Amendment are now at risk, right? So
yeah,
there you go.
That's the part people don't know when we talk about Roe v. versus Wade, and then we talk about setting precedents. Because this is overturned, that means there, in essence, in summary, if we could just kind of water it down in layman's term, there is now not a precedent that would stop them.
The overturn of those.
Yeah.
Dodos. No, I was kidding. No, but it's something to not take lightly. And I know that I've seen a lot in social media about Black women saying, is this really our fight? But I mean, how do you feel about that? Is this our fight?
I'm gonna keep it real. Before I answer that, we got a couple people that checked in on my page. Okay. Miss Mina said, "Congrats, Missy, on your engagement."
Thank you, girl. He did so good. Hold on.
He did good, girl. He did good. I got another brother checking in, Black Buddha Fly Pod, and he has his own podcast. I consider him a podcast colleague of mine, and he says, "Hey, Queen, y'all are so dope." So thank y'all for checking in. We appreciate you for checking in.
You're dope.
So how do I feel? That this is a good question because I have pondered on this. I have had conversations about this. And
keep it 1,000. How do you
I'm gonna keep it 1,000. I'm gonna keep it a buck.
Okay.
I do not feel, as Black women, I don't feel like this is our struggle and this is our fight in that sense. Do I believe in a woman's right to choose? Yes, because one, a man that does not have to go through what a woman has to go through in terms of medically, biologically, all the things that happen to women when we're pregnant, when our lives are at risk. Pure point blank. If you ain't got a pussy, you can't tell me what to do with my pussy. Okay. And so for me, I think it is unfortunate that we have a system where a bunch of older white men can tell women what to do with their bodies. But I also feel like this, and some folks probably not gonna like it, but I don't feel like it's our struggle because traditionally Black women as a whole, we are proponents of keeping our children. We don't necessarily, I'm not saying that we haven't, or there are not cases where we have found ourselves wanting or needing an abortion, because it happens every day in the hood, right? But I just don't think it's our struggle, because traditionally as a culture, we are not the ones that are impacted the most by abortions because we keep our children. So I think, and this is not going to be politically correct. Tyron's checking in because Tyron follows me and he studies me.
You always say that, Tyron.
He follows and studies me. He said, "I thought this was the PG-13 podcast." It is. Pussy is not. Pussy is PG-13. But I think this is what I consider a white woman struggle, because it is an attempt to govern their bodies to population control. And that white women traditionally, historically, statistically have been the ones who have, if you look at data and statistics, they're the ones that most often make the decision to abort their children. And so do I think it impacts all of us as women? Yeah, because we're going to see a rise in young women going to get abortions in back alleys. And we should talk about what this overturn means for the states themselves. But we're going to see an uprise in women choosing, or young women or young girls choosing dangerous methods to abort their children or pregnancy. And so I'm saying all this to say that I'm not necessarily a proponent of abortions. I've never had to go through that. I've never been at risk in the pregnancy or anything of that. I never had to make that decision. But in a lot of ways, I just feel like this is more of a struggle for, not necessarily for our culture as Black women.
I would agree that it's not necessarily our struggle. I feel like a part of this is about population control, and for us, the impact of that is like, just consider the healthcare that we receive. Right, we have one of the lowest populations with access to healthcare and contraceptive, and Black women by far, our mortality rate is like something crazy, like 3 times more of Hispanic and 5 times more of white women. So I think that the impact for us as Black women is actually that it will be there will be more life-threatening pregnancies and deliveries that will unfortunately take the lives of Black and brown women. Now, for me, I would say like I'm a proponent for like people's right to choose. Now, for me, what that means, that's not a choice I would make. Okay, that is a personal choice for me, and I can say that unequivocally. Like I know for certain that that's not a choice I would make under in most circumstances. I understand, and we can talk about life-threatening circumstances because that's happening now, right? Like literally happening now.
Right.
But I also believe, I say that, and I feel strongly in that conviction, but I also believe like you never know what you're going to do until you're faced with those circumstances, right? I don't judge people. And I say this, like you and I have had this discussion. You don't know what you're going to do until you do it. I'm the type of person where if somebody said, so-and-so stole from the store, I'm going to ask, well, what did he steal and why? Because I feel like if there's a reason. If I know somebody who stole medicine for their child to live from a pharmacy, I know stealing is wrong.
Right.
But I'm not going to judge that person because they were faced with some circumstances where they have to make a tough decision, right? For their health, their child, whatever.
Yeah.
So, it's easy, especially for, Monday morning quarterbacks to sit back, in the Oval Office or in, the branches of government and make decisions for people and that don't even impact them
At all,
right? But, here we are. It happened. And so, I don't agree with it at all. And not just because of what it means for Black women, but also because of the things we just talked about, the way they impact not just me. And I know it's not it. People say, well, we can't fight everybody's fight, but guess what? A injustice for one person is an injustice for all people, right? So we can't just like pick. We can't pick and choose because it impacts us all in some way or another.
It does, and definitely going back to your thought that we will find that the way that our population of women, Black women in particular, will be impacted is, with the disparities in health for us. A lot of us don't have equitable health care or resources that are plentiful in our community. There is a lot of, unfortunately, and this is something that a lot of families sweep under the rug, but it's happening every day in Black families. Uncles, big brothers, cousins, incest, messing with younger children, younger girls in the family. It's happening every day, and young girls are getting pregnant by these men or pedophiles in the community. We don't like to talk about that. We want to sweep those things as a community of people. We like to sweep those ignore it and sweep it under the rug. But it's happening every day in our community. And how would those young Black girls who just so happen to become victim to a pedophile or become victim to Uncle so-and-so who was supposed to be, part of the family, and at night he's creeping into her, how will those young Black girls be impacted? What kind of stigma are we placing on those young girls? It's just a lot. It's just a very layered. It's a very heavy and layered conversation, and a lot of people want to have this conversation and they only want to touch the subject, the surface. They want to talk about the moral issues, and you're not supposed to have an abortion when there are so many reasons why a woman may have to make that decision or be faced with that decision. It's not just because she was out there sleeping around,
right? Like she was irresponsible.
Or she was irresponsible with her body. It could be very well be that baby, having that baby, is putting her at risk.
We're seeing that now, right? Women bleeding out for days, right? Because they can't have access to the proper health care because their pregnancy it's not so, but doctors are afraid that they're breaking the law when they're, trying to save their life. Because they're suffering and having miscarriages.
I don't know who's checking in on your end, but Nicole says, all I want is for them to vote for sanitary napkins and tampons to be free for all ladies. Other than that, they shouldn't be voting on anything regarding our bodies. True.
All I want is for them to vote for free social services. Hold on, let me put my pen down. Free social services and mental health care for all Americans, especially our youth, because suicide is like the third leading cause of death for our kids. So why don't we put this energy towards something that can really impact us in a positive way? And I feel like social services, and as well as I could go on a whole thing about the arts and how that impacts mental health care, but
education services.
Yeah.
So yes. So I gave my thoughts. You gave your thoughts. I think we both agree that this is not necessarily our fight as Black women, but it does impact us. There is some impact to us.
Now, some people say that, like, it's all about the patriarchy, right? It's the patriarchy. And then, there's that whole argument, like the patriarchy is just like the other side of the coin for white supremacy. You talk about you know what I'm saying? So
right, they don't want to dig into that conversation. They don't want to dig into that one. Yeah. Because the truth of the matter that they're afraid that they are being overtaken by minority communities. And so, like on that one, we ain't gonna dig too. We do got a question from Don in the audience. She says, how do we address situations where women essentially weaponize their children or their pregnancy to get back at, oh, that is a good one. Yeah. How do we address situations where women essentially weaponize their children or their pregnancy to get back at men? That definitely happens. You want to speak to that?
No, I mean, listen, we're all in. That sounds like a situation where we were in control of our bodies and we were in control of our reproductive organs. So we need to stop giving out miracles to people who are undeserving, and men need to stop impregnating women that they don't want to be with, partner with, parent with. We all have a responsibility there. So when
both man and woman, right?
Like you saw that meme the other day, and it said, "I wish I could have picked my baby daddy."
Oh yeah, girl, I posted that. I'm like, who gonna tell her? Who gonna tell her?
Right. And so we do have a sense of personal responsibility to not procreate with people who we don't want to be connected to. And so I honestly don't have a lot of empathy. I'm sorry for men or women who connect themselves for a lifetime to people who they don't want to be connected with, especially if it was a choice. You have choices like we right now, unless Roe versus Wade seeps into some other things, contraceptive, abstinence, that we have choices. So
right, and we're talking about when we in this question to put context on the question, because there's, as we said, it's a very layered conversation. So we're talking about a segment of women or young women who did not have a choice to be impregnated.
Right,
they were raped or they, there's so many layers. But this is a question geared towards able-bodied, mentally sane women who connected themselves to a man, able-bodied men, mentally sane men who came together, did not protect themselves, and then the woman comes up pregnant, and then a baby is coming into the world. It's not just the woman's responsibility, it's his responsibility what he does with his Peter Weeder too. Okay. But somehow, some way, this conversation, it's always an attack against women and what the woman should have done and what the woman should do. I mean, she's responsible and she's in control. I need men to understand you need to control your penis too. Okay. It's not just her failure, I guess I should say, if an unwanted pregnancy happens to occur. Yeah. That doesn't take away from the fact that we know that there are some women who do weaponize their children. I think that's a whole nother veering away from the Roe V versus Wade, but that doesn't take away from the fact that we know that is happening and is happening in our community. But we just got to be careful who we give ourselves to. We got to be thoughtful who we give ourselves to. And like you said, Missy, there's so many other choices that we can make.
Now, the HR practitioner in me wants to say, if young man, if you are in a relationship with a woman who is weaponizing your child as a means to punish you, use against you, withhold, document. Get you a good lawyer. Make sure you're keeping records. Make sure you're reporting to the court. Make sure you're doing the things that you need to do to be a good parent. Dot all your I's, cross all your T's, and handle that in the court system. That's one thing we don't do enough as people of color. Listen, you got to keep up. And this goes like in the office too, keep a paper trail. Keep
Right.
a paper trail. Y'all keep screenshots for years and years.
Right. I'll say this. I feel like men in our community, Black men, don't utilize their rights or seek their rights enough. Because there's this whole thing with the court system. They don't want to get the courts involved. And listen, I have seen situations where the woman, the mama, was going down paying child support, or child support was coming out of her check, because that man took, he was serious about his rights, and he did what was necessary to either have joint custody, or full custody. I see Black men like that around my world every day, and so I just think a lot of times it's our Black men who do not want to seek out the court system for their rights. And so, y'all have just as much rights to these babies as the woman does. You just got to seek out the rights to do so. Jamaica says both willing parties are responsible for birth control. Tweety says absolutely, Missy, Melissa, the responsibility of birth control is not just on the woman. It's not. Not.
And I love these little tidbits y'all have that say, if abortion or is is how does it say, like something about if abortion is a right, then if pregnancy is natural, then so is impotence, right? And so if we have to follow natural order with pregnancy, then when your penis is gunworm, then you have to suffer through that too, right? So you guys crack me up with those things, but yeah, I mean, it does go both ways. Did you hear? I don't know if this came out today. There was a woman who filed a case in the state of Georgia, basically saying, listen, if my fetus is a baby, then I should be able to claim it on my taxes. And I need to look that up real quick because I feel like they should. I feel like she should look that up real quick.
I mean, this whole thing, we don't even understand the magnitude that what this overturn really does. Unborn fetus have rights, is kind of where they're going with that. The fetal personhood laws, whether or not a baby in the womb at the fetus stage, because part of this whole Roe V versus Wade overturning the situation, there's this whole debate whether or not life happens at conception or after birth. And if life happens at conception, does that mean a fetus has rights?
Yeah.
Can I claim them on my taxes? Like, it's wild, y'all. Like,
you can in the state of Georgia. Right. Georgia says that the fetus counts as a dependent on your taxes. This was released 5 hours ago.
See, that's what I'm saying. People only want to touch the surface of this conversation. They want to make it about women, and they shouldn't be out here doing this, and they should keep there are so many facets and layers to this conversation, that this one act of overturning Roe v. versus Wade.
Right. So doesn't that mean my fetus gets life insurance? Does that mean my fetus gets child support?
Can I, as a woman, if I get pregnant, and at the moment that I know I'm pregnant, can I just go down to the court system and say, this is his baby?
Yeah.
I want to put you on child. So before the baby is even born, the man is getting summons to child support court.
Right.
Listen, here's another interesting fact. Let me look this up because there is mastectomies. So have gone up. Oh my goodness, it's an astronomical.
Oh, first they stockpiling Plan Bs. Now mastectomies are going up. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, mastectomies have gone up tremendously within the last few months, and I want to say it's like a 300% increase. So men, listen, this overturning Roe v. Like it impacts men too, right? So men have made the decision. Okay, abortions are legal in some states, so we didn't even touch on that part.
True.
So I'm just gonna go out and get a mastectomy. I'm just snip and cut, snip and cut. And the amount of men who are running to the doctor now to get
a vasectomy.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear that. The implications.
Yeah. Implication. It's a lot of layers to it.
We haven't even talked on like HIPAA.
Yeah, the HIPAA. Yeah. Kyra says we practice submission and abstinence around here, and the man can do a DNA test on the unborn baby as well. So
they can, but they won't because it's expensive.
Yeah, that's not just going to get it. That's not just going to get a mouth swab, child. Right. Kyra, I hate to tell you, that's not like a little swab around in the nose or the mouth or whatever, and then testing to see if it matches 99.6. That's a whole nother.
Some men will, but
yeah. I'm sorry, I said mastectomy. It's vasectomy. Sorry, you're right. Yeah. Yes, vasectomy. But however, it's gone up like 300% since Roe v. versus Wade.
300%.
Yeah. Wow. The states. What does that mean? So
okay, break this down to me. Yeah, the states.
So with this overturn of Roe v. versus Wade does not mean that all they did is just overturn it as a federal law and left it up to the states. So each state makes a decision about the laws and things surrounding, abortion. So a great example of this is the young girl. I don't know if you guys remember the young girl. She was only about 10 years old. She got raped. She had an abuser, ended up pregnant. She was in Ohio. And then the abuser brought her to Indiana to get an abortion, pretty much. And so this doctor performs this abortion. And so now he's in trouble. The state attorney is investigating the matter because this young girl, 10 years old, raped, been conditioned by her abuser, gets pregnant. The abuser freaks out, then crosses over the Ohio borderline, brings her into Indiana to get an abortion. And so that's just one example of what will happen now that this decision lies with the states themselves. You're going to see a whole lot more of those kinds of cases where people are crossing the borderlines to go get abortions.
And guess what? Employers are supporting it in large part.
Yeah.
Employers are providing incentives, or not incentives, but benefits, right, to their employees to get access to safe healthcare, even if that means they need to travel. And you can, it is what it is. That's not even, that's explicit. It's not implicit. They're telling you, if you need to go to another state to take care of your feminine health, we will pay you so you can do it safely.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of companies that are doing that. I think, let me look up a couple of them, but there are, it's a lot. It is Amazon, Bank of America, Bumble, BuzzFeed, Cigna.
I find humor in Bumble, but okay.
Huh?
I find humor in the dating app Bumble, but
dating app Bumble, yeah. I guess if their employees get pregnant, they'll send them to whatever state where it is legal, where they can still safely get an abortion. They'll pay for their flight, their hotel. They'll give them monies so that they can go travel to get an abortion. Citigroup, CNN, Comcast, CVS, Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's Sporting Goods will give as much as $4,000 in abortion traveling costs to the nearest location that care is legally available. Estee Lauder, Goldman Sachs, Hewlett Packard, JP Morgan Chase, Kroger, IKEA, New York Times, Lyft, Match Group. I mean, just there's a bunch of it goes on and on and on, on and on and on. Yeah, the implications.
Dina Jefferson, JD, in the comments says, it's a slippery slope. When you start rolling back human rights, where do you stop? Justice Thomas wants to look at all Supreme Court decisions back to loving. Woo.
Do we want to talk about Justice Thomas? No, we won't talk about Justice Thomas.
Girl, I wish I had a shirt that said F Justice Thomas.
He's not a free right now.
We're gonna leave that low. Yeah.
Yes, Nikki. I said mastectomy and it was vasectomy. Yes. Yes. Sue me. Yes. Sorry. Vasectomy. Mastectomy. Vasectomy. Yeah. B, M versus M. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. I corrected myself.
All good. All good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the men's perspective. Let's get some men's perspective. And I know we got some folks checking in. I know Tyron, but are there any other brothers that are checking in that would want to share their perspective on Roe v. versus Wade, and just your thoughts on the situation?
I wonder if men almost feel like I really didn't have I don't have a say in it anyway, right? Because when women make those decisions, we typically, the man can say what he would prefer, but it's still, at least it's still our choice, our decision, and they could not, say otherwise, or they didn't have any influence. It was her choice.
They should have a decision in it. That's a whole nother topic that I've heard discussed. Are we now at the point that men should be able to have a right, or can they sign their name on the dotted line and say, I don't agree with this abortion if the child happens to be theirs? Do they have that right now?
We want to enforce their right to choose, but not to parent or father.
Because it's mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
Like they say, we're pro-life until they're born, and then it's like, that's on you.
Right.
Don't come to us. Don't look at us. We're not helping you take care of that baby.
Yeah. I mean, so many layers to this in terms of perceptions and thoughts. Tyron says, I'm gonna keep it light. My thoughts are this: ladies, before you lay down, make sure you're married. Yeah, because it's us. Because they don't have no faults or blame in it.
I'm just gonna keep blinking. Why, ladies?
Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna say this too. From the very first, because I know Tyron likes to take it back to the garden all the time, the Garden of Eden. And I made this comment on a post earlier, but men have been blaming us since the time that we were in the garden. When Adam was in the garden and he didn't do what he was supposed to do, he didn't take care and protect his responsibility for Eve. Ever since then, men have been blaming women for their mess ups. Or
their plight in life.
Their hardships. And we was just submissive and we was just that. Well, if Adam would have just did what God told him to do, and because God gave Adam the instruction, then things probably would have turned out a little different. But here we are, still being blamed. But why men? Why women? Why just women? Where is the responsibility with men? That's a good question.
Yeah. And I think that as Black women,
go ahead, finish your thought. I'm just putting
as Black women, we shoulder enough.
Mm-hmm.
We carry enough. That we cannot bear every burden. We cannot fight every fight. We cannot sometimes save ourselves, right? And so we need sometimes to not take control or take the lead in situations that don't necessarily pertain to us.
Right.
Like you said, they're not caring about our uteruses. Right. They don't. This is about, let's be real, population control. This is about preserving a race, and it ain't ours.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So in essence, we both bear responsibility in this. It's not just a woman's responsibility. It's both responsibilities. Going back to
we gotta stop doing this. We gotta work together. We gotta stop with the it's your fault. It's your fault. No,
right.
But that's another topic for another day.
That's another topic for another day. I get tired of fighting that battle. Jamaica says definitely population control for other people. But I do want to go back to this thought where it says some businesses that want to help women get abortions may get banned by their state legislator. Texas is one state where Republicans are considering introducing bills to prevent companies from assisting their employees. Yeah.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah. It's crazy. You mentioned earlier about some of the implications that impact some of the other rights under the 14th Amendment. From your perspective, what do you think about some of the other rights that are being, at risk now that we have the overturn of Roe v. versus Wade? Because that's been in the media a lot. There's been a lot of thought and talks about that as well.
Well, one thing we haven't talked about is that the 14th Amendment, it also granted citizenship and equal civil rights and legal rights to us, right? To African Americans and enslaved people who have been emancipated from the Civil War. And, we all have these thoughts sometimes, these conspiracy theory thoughts, like they're trying to re-enslave us. And based on the last few years, I can't say it's too far-fetched. Like, it's a scary thought to think that we could rewind time and undo all this progress, in an instant. It's a scary thought. If they do this, they can do other things. They can do, one of the protections that we have, we mentioned earlier about, them law enforcement officers not being able to enter your home without your consent. What will that mean for people of color if that goes away? We rely on that.
They're entering into our homes anyway.
True that.
Right.
Yeah, I just had a little flutter in my heart thinking about Breonna Taylor when you said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's a scary thought. I'm gonna be honest. I live out here in the DMV, and we get a lot of protesters. You can protest everything. We protest, and there's no Evian at the church. They're protesting everything, right?
Every day there is a protest.
Every day there is a protest, but it is not as frightening as it has been here recently. I never been really scared to go down to the mall until after the insurrection. And I'm gonna be real, like some of my coworkers, when we had the insurrection, they were like, you know, this is we're still on an emotional high from like the murder of George Floyd, and companies were still that was like still like everyday talk. Are you okay? Are you okay? And then we have the insurrection, and they're like, "What's up? How do you feel?" And I'm like, "I don't feel nothing. I feel like that's y'all business out."
They don't impact me.
I'm going to Trader Joe's.
Right.
You know, but it is seriously, like when you think about the evolution of like the escalation of violence that's happening in Buffalo, New York, and in Oklahoma, and all these places where we once felt safe, right? And I know that school violence has been going on for a long time, but you know, it's a different level when you see law enforcement not acting. And again, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but these civil liberties, particularly for people of color, are in jeopardy. They're in jeopardy. Yeah. And you know, when people say, "Get out and vote," we do. Now what?
Right.
We do. We did. We will.
Yeah. Especially us as Black women. We get out there and vote.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
And you are right. I know the day that Roe v. Wade was overturned, I was happening to go have some dinner with some girlfriends, the girlfriends to be exact, and they were the restaurant that I went to was near kind of the center of the town in which, you know, it was the restaurant was located, and or the epicenter, which was a park, and then there's some governmental businesses. And when I tell you that park was full of women, and they had their picket signs, and they were pissed off. I mean, some of the picket signs were like very creative. I'm like, oh, I gotta use that. I gotta use that. That was good. That was good. But it just takes me back. And you said, you know, people were asking you, how do you feel? How do you feel? And you're like, this is not really I'm not gonna say we're not impacted. I'm not gonna say that we don't care, but this is just, it's not as pressing of an issue it is for us as a community of women.
You're still fighting for regular schmegular everyday rights.
Yeah. 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 We're still fighting to be paid equitably. And you know, yes, Black women are doing our thing. We are climbing the corporate ladder. We're leading, we're heading organizations, and you see it, we're the most educated, but we are still the most disrespected population of women on the earth. We're still the most underpaid when you compare us to our counterparts. We are the ones that have to go into the workplace and overprove ourselves. We still have to do that. So those are still some of our struggles as Black women. And so again, it's not that we don't care.
Right.
But statistically, our families are thriving. We're keeping we're not the ones that are statistically running at record-breaking numbers to go get abortions, because we're fighting a whole nother set of issues.
Right. How are you the most emulated, the most educated, and the least compensated? Make it make sense.
Yeah. How are you the most emulated and the most disrespected at the same time? Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic. They talked about our long nails and our colorful hair and the way we talk. And guess what?
Everybody got pink hair.
Mainstream now. Mainstream.
Everybody got big booties and big lips now. Yeah.
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 Anyway, I
That's not
digress.
to say that we don't have a whole nother set of issues as a community of women, but I just think for this issue, while we have some implications, it doesn't impact us in the same way.
In the same, it impacts us, but not in
Yeah.
the same way.
Not in the same way.
I think for in my opinion, I go back to the healthcare
Yeah.
concern.
That's
Is
the
the biggest issue for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mickey says our fight is well beyond Roe v. Wade. It is. It is. Listen,
Yeah.
the last thing that I want is a young girl, 13, 14 years old, who and yes, she should remain abstinent. She should wait until marriage. She should do all those things. But we live in a fallen world, so we can't turn a blind eye to what's happening, right? And so if she happens to get pregnant by lack of wisdom, she made a mistake, whatever the case may be, I don't want to see that young Black girl going in the back alley trying to get an abortion by somebody who said they can do it for $100.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And this topic is not new for Namia and I, for just a little bit of history. Before we had the podcast, we had a nonprofit, the Pink Foundation, Protect Aspire a long time. And one of our workshops was what? Abstinence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're, this is something that we've been in for a long time. We've taught to both, from life experience and from our spiritual experience as Christians. So, yes, in an ideal world, abstinence is what we would, promote. But we understand that, we live in an imperfect world. And when things happen, sometimes, young ladies need options, right? So, thank you for that comment. But ideally, yes, abstinence makes the heart grow fonder. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and we'll continue to promote that, but the reality is that there are young women that are giving their bodies up. The reality is that there are young women,
and younger and younger,
because the world that we live in, and then the reality is that we have people who are taking the virginity of young women. That's just the reality that we live in. And so what happens to that young brown girl, that young Black girl, who, is impacted in that way? What does that mean for her? What does that mean for her future? What have you? Just a lot. It's a layered conversation. More than we could probably even touch on tonight.
Yeah.
I do want to share a couple quotes. So I thought these were interesting with some of these quotes. Just for dialogue. Doesn't mean that we necessarily believe them or don't believe them. It's just for dialogue and reaction. So I'm going to share a couple and highlight them. And I want to get your thoughts, what you feel, Melissa. But okay. So this first quote is, "No woman can call herself free who does not control her own body." And that's Margaret Sanger.
I mean, it's so simple, but impact is like so powerful, right?
Right.
We talk about like God gives us all free will, and part of that free will is the freedom to choose. And so how can you call yourself free? And we're supposed to be, a free nation. We're supposed to be, the greatest nation. So if you don't have the right to choose, you don't have the right to your own body, then can you truly call yourself free? Because if you can't choose for yourself, then, and someone else chooses for you, then what does that make you to that person? Property.
Property. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to think about. Next quote. This one was interesting, and we've kind of alluded to this. 77% of anti-abortion leaders are men. 100% of them will never be pregnant.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That is funny. Yeah, these decisions are being made by men. No, so no comment. That's funny.
This one, I have a little. This one is interesting to me, and I have a thought on it.
Okay.
No woman has an abortion for fun. That's a heavy one, and I'm going to tell you why that's a heavy one, because we got to play devil's advocate sometime. It can't always be a biased perspective, but no woman has an abortion for fun. But we can't deny that some women make abortion a way of life, as a way as a birth control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some women engage in reckless behavior for fun and do just that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Here's another one that was interesting. Oh, that didn't come through well. Let's see.
I hope Nick Cannon is on the vasectomy list.
Huh?
I hope Nick Cannon is on the vasectomy list. Against the
Girl, listen, do you want to dig into that topic? He definitely needs to get on the vasectomy and the mastectomy. Wow, he don't need another talking about women's body parts and smell. I'm like, Nick, you the one knocking their pH balance off. You having sex with all these women unprotected. Okay. That's a rabbit hole. We ain't gonna go down. But against abortion, don't have one.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of that. I mean, I feel like that's my position. Like I wouldn't have one.
Yeah.
It's your choice to have. So yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you'll like this. You'll appreciate this one. It's by the late RBG. And this was her thoughts. And remember, this was her fight.
Real genius.
Yeah, the real genius. This was her fight before her death. This is one of, kind of one issue that she spoke a lot on. But this is RBG herself says, the emphasis must not be on the right to abortion, but on the right to privacy and reproductive control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they challenged.
Yeah. Your privacy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to share a couple more.
We miss you, RBG.
We miss you, RBG. She broke a lot of glass ceilings. Okay. So if men could get pregnant, abortion would be a sacrament. Yeah. Okay.
I can't speak for men, so I don't know.
Yeah, we can't speak for men. Final one, and this is just kind of a funny one. So, and we'll end the comments here. But no woman wants an abortion as she wants an ice cream cone or a Porsche. She wants an abortion as an animal caught in a trap wants to gnaw off its own leg. That was interesting.
Thanks for the visual.
Right. Remember, these are not the thoughts of Missy and Nikki, and we do not represent any company, organization, or entity. These are just thoughts that we are sharing. So
it is a decision, a matter of survival for some people. A matter of survival.
I can see it in that.
Life or death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Interesting. Jamaica says that's my position on that. If you are against it, don't have it. Yeah.
But you know what? Some conservatives say they're comparing it to like, well, I didn't want to wear a mask, and that was my right. So how can you say, it's the right to, your body when I had to wear a mask and that was a right to my body? I'm just saying that is
That
an
was
argument I've heard.
I've heard that argument too. Yeah. But again, it's men making this decision for women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. This was an interesting discussion. Welcome back.
Thank you. I am committed to slowing down a bit this year. You and I have some wedding planning to do. I had my maid of honor on there, Dina Jefferson, and we got a lot of planning for next year. Destination wedding, on top of other commitments with other organizations. So I'm committed to slowing down.
Yes.
And enjoying this season that God has prepared for me.
And it is a beautiful season. Listen, I want you to enjoy every minute of it. You deserve it.
Thank you.
Are another, so on my other brand, She Is Namia High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, we have been talking about women over 40 and can you have it all? Can you have the career? Can you have the husband? Can you the children? And again, you are another example of a woman who is only getting better with time.
Thank you.
And so I ain't just saying this because you're my cousin, maybe a little bit. I'm a little biased, right? But you deserve it. You deserve it all. And I want you to enjoy every last moment of this season that God has you in. Don't, and this is just my example from my own experience, because I'm still reeling in my, my season, but there'll be some naysayers, there'll be some haters, there'll be some people that don't understand this season. And you just block all that out and you just embrace everything that God is doing for you. Listen, shake the haters. And they're gonna come from every way. Which way? Yeah. They're gonna question your marriage. They're gonna question if it's real, and they're gonna have all kinds of things to say. But what God is doing for you, can't nobody question. This is you and your journey. You deserve it, and I just want you to bask in that glow, girl.
It's a celebration.
It's a celebration. It's a celebration.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Yes. Yeah. So that being said, are we ending? Are we? Yeah. Where can people find us?
I feel like me. Oh, I wasn't.
Huh?
You said pardon words? Is that what you did?
Pardon words? You kind of gave some pardon words. Okay. So I was just saying, where can people find us on social media since we're officially
my bad.
2 and we're back?
Listen, so for those of you who follow me on Missy Walker, you know that I've kind of fallen in love with TikTok. So we have a Nikki and Missie TikTok. So follow us on TikTok. As we, build up that audience. Certainly follow us on our Facebook page and on our YouTube, Nikki and Missie. So yeah, and then you got She Is Namia.
She Is Namia, High Heels and Lipstick Conversations. Yes, Missie and Nikki, we are back with our podcast, and we're on several different platforms. So we're on like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud. We're in several different places. But She Is Namia, High Heels and Lipstick Conversations isn't going anywhere. The same as Missie has her own personal brand as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, and things that she's working on individually. She Is Namia has her own personal brand and platform and things that I am working on individually. But we also will continue to work together collectively, because that's all we know is being around each other. She ain't going nowhere no time soon,
So
So
I'm gonna pose a question to our audience because I asked my line sisters, but I'm gonna ask our listeners here because my brand is Missy Walker, right? But
mm-hmm.
I'm getting married, so there will
Cool.
be the need for rebranding for
Yeah.
my consulting business. And sometimes I go by HR ish because I feel like I work in HR, but if like Erica Badu was an HR practitioner, that would probably mean kind of like not HR, but not really
Uh-huh.
HR ish. And I talk HR ish as well. So
Uh-huh. Yeah.
okay, so but HR ish cannot be the brand. That's just kind of something I do as a explanation of why I'm weird and quirky in some ways, if that makes sense. So anyway, what should my new brand be? It can't be Melissa Tennille like I am on Facebook. That's taken,
Okay.
right?
What should
So
your
what
brand
should
be?
I go by for my HR consulting business? So
In
to
wanting
answer
to
the question,
incorporate your new last name, your soon to be last.
no,
Okay.
no.
Okay. That's a good question.
All
That's a poll.
right. So
Y'all
give
give
me
some ideas.
give me some ideas. I would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us some ideas of what Missy's new brand should be. Remember, this is her own personal brand. She has products and things, and she has
Yeah.
a consulting business and things that she does under her. Now it's called Missy Walker under that brand. And
Mm-hmm.
so she's going to rebrand soon. What do you ladies think? And even if some guys, if you have a creative mind, what do you think she should rebrand herself as?
Yeah.
It's a good question. Good question.
Like,
Listen, we don't want to stop the conversation here. We want you to continue to have the conversation and tell us what you think about tonight's conversation. We will be coming back to you very soon. So we need you to share. We need you to like our page. If you are on Her Voice featuring Nikki and Missy, we need you to share and like and invite your friends to be a part of the conversation because we're back and it is season 2. And so we're going to have more conversations like this, more
mm-hmm.
conversations that are geared toward women in the workplace and just what we do. Again, our personal brands aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
But
We love
yeah,
you and we missed you.
yeah,
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
yes.
Welcome back. I always
Any
got some.
any final thoughts of the evening before we get on out of here, girl? Before we get on out of here.
We talked about like having it all and being a woman in business and a mom and in the community and all those things. And I know sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't agree. And I
Mhm.
think one of the things that I agree on is that yes, you can have it all, but understand you cannot do it all simultaneously.
Oh yeah.
Like you really do have to find balance and you understand like you only have so many hours in a day. So
Mhm.
take when you give to one place, you're pouring into one place, it's something else you're missing out on, right?
Mhm.
I know
Yeah.
that if I'm in a board meeting, I'm missing out on checking homework, right? If
Right.
I'm recording the show right now, I'm missing out on reports that I should be working on for my job. If
Yeah.
I'm on the job, I'm missing out on maybe some self-care. Like there's so much that has to be done as a woman in leadership, as a boss, as an entrepreneur. And
Mhm.
it's important to be gentle with yourself and know that when that happens, you're still a great mom, you're still a great professional, you're still a
Yeah.
great community leader.
Yeah.
And there's nobody out there that has it all figured out, that has all the balance perfect at all the same time. It's all plates spinning all at once. So be gentle with yourself and know that yeah, you boss bad A, B, okay? But sometimes you have to, it's ebbs and flows, it's give
Yeah.
and take, it's
Yeah.
put this down so you can pick that up. That's
Yeah.
all.
You got to discern the time. Yeah, we
Mhm.
definitely talked about that and taking the S off your chest sometimes. So
Right.
thank you for that.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. Okay, y'all. We are checking. That's Missy's final thought of the evening. So we are checking out. Thank y'all for checking in. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time here on Her Voice featuring Nikki and Missy. Right.
Ladies coming to the scene with the knowledge that's it. Spitting nothing but the facts and it's about to be lit. See, yeah, yeah. Let me hear you say, yeah, yeah. Sit back and take a listen, cause they're teaching the course. They share a passion and a talent, a human resource. See, yeah, yeah. Let me hear you say, yeah, yeah. Empowering ladies with a voice, and it's about to be fire. Did I forget to mention that? They're both from GI. Let me hear you say yeah, yeah. Let me hear you say yeah.